in my fleeced cardigan.
When was the last time you ate? August?
I've missed. No, probably not. I think I was at a festival, so maybe even July.
Okay, yeah. The last time I was here was August.
Everyone was left. August?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was only October.
I was on holiday in September, and that was during the period of time in September where there was like mad 40-degree heat here. And I was in Greece, and for 3 days in Greece, it didn't do anything other than rain. And I was
really?
Yeah, but luckily we had a 2-week holiday, so most of it was sunshine. But then we had 3 days of like.
The irony. Do you know what's funny is I went to Greece in June, and at that same point, it was hotter here than it was in Greece.
Well, there you go. It wasn't just hotter in the UK than Greece; it was also dry. It was just really raining quite a lot. It was pretty depressing. But anyway,
but so happy that we are both back. I mean, everyone was left in Jake's very capable hands last week, but
yes, I'm sure
we have returned.
Amazing job. But please, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to everybody, all our regulars. Steve Coleman-Williams is here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Malcolm Tucker, I recognise these names. Anthony Mullins, evening all. I hope we are all well. Yes, we are. Everybody pouring themselves a dram in preparation. Pat Cowling, good evening all. Nice to catch a live one for once instead of catching up. Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to everybody who's watching us live. Obviously, you guys can watch us at your leisure because we'll be on YouTube for an infinite amount of history now. Everything we say will be permanently on the internet, and one day Jess will become a meme or something like that.
It's already happened.
Has it? Yeah. But welcome to all of you. Welcome back, and welcome to all our new Pour and Sippers, our new subscribers. If you're here and this is your first tasting, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please get involved as much as possible. We really want to hear what you guys have to say. We've got 3 amazing guests lined up for you. Please ask your questions for those guys. Get your tasting notes in. We want to hear from you. Jess, do you want to talk us through the order? Because you're more likely to not mess that up than me, or do you want?
Yes, let me. So, first of all, Andy will be talking you through the wonderful Lochlea with the wonderful John Campbell, which is really exciting. And then I will be talking through the Bushmills with Mark. And then finally, we are finishing off with an English whiskey from White Peak Distillery, but it's the Wireworks release. And Andy, you'll be tackling that with David, I believe.
And then we're going to do 2 whistle-stop tour drams of
whistle-stop tour of a Tamdhu and a Loch Lomond.
Yeah. So has everybody got that? You've written it down. You're not going to be asking me after what's next. You have to know.
That's not even what you're here
for.
Yeah,
no one is repeating themselves. So thank you very much. I'm going to say goodbye to Jess. Now it's been wonderful.
Short and sweet. See you soon.
I will see you soon. And I'm going to invite John onto the screen. Hello, John.
Hi, Dave. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, no, good. Good. A wee bit croaky. I've got a wee chest infection, but drinking whiskey will help it.
So absolutely, that's definitely the medicine for that. I did see you coughing there in the backstage, and I was like, "Oh, I think he's unwell."
Yeah, any excuse to have a whiskey, isn't it? It's getting wintry now. It's just getting so dark, and today was cold in Scotland. It dropped a lot, so it's definitely whiskey weather now.
What temperature are we talking now for you guys?
Like today, it was 1 Celsius.
1
when I left to go to work. Yeah. When I arrived at Lochlea this morning, it was 1 Celsius.
Okay, so, summer is truly over for you guys.
It's like it's gone.
Scottish water.
Yeah. I wish I hadn't got a haircut yesterday. It was just like it was so cold.
Luckily, it's not like that for us. I'm down here in London. We're still about 15, so we're all good at the moment.
Yeah.
We'll be getting there. Right. So, for those who don't know, talk to us a little bit about yourself and how you found yourself in your current role at Lochlea. Obviously, it's been a journey for you, and you were previously at a different distillery for many a year. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So, started off in whiskey in 1994 at the biggest peated whiskey in the planet, Lafroig. Stayed there for 27 years, just over 27 years. And then just decided it was time for a change. So just 2 years ago now, I left and went to Lochlea, and they were just about to start releasing whiskies. And yeah, it was a good challenge, I guess. And the main reason for leaving Lafroig would be I just knew all the answers after being there 27 years, and I didn't want to turn into a grumpy old fart. So just decided that like I would stretch myself again, go to the polar opposite, like a brand that nobody knew, and also that an unpeated whiskey. So just, and it's been good. Yeah, it's been awesome. It's like 2 years I've just flown past.
What
I'm learning all the time now, and I'm not turned grumpy yet.
There's plenty of time for that after 16 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually interesting. I wasn't going to ask you, but what are obviously, firstly, what attracted you to Lochlea coming from Lefroy, and also what going forward, like what are the differences and challenges for you? Like what is, this couldn't be polar opposite to distilleries you're talking about here. What are the real unique challenges now that you wouldn't have had at Lefroy and vice versa?
Yeah, so I guess the easiest way to explain that is like it was, you had like the boundaries were set at Lefroy. There was 200 years of like what it was. 10-year-old has been a single malt for 100 years, so it was just don't muck up. You got a chance to play about with Carchus for the annual release of Carchus and try experimenting there. So there was like playing around a bit with Lefroy as well, and like I enjoyed the Carchus releases. It was just brand new. There was no almost framework for what it was going to be. Excuse me. So that challenge of setting that up was really good. And I guess the other thing I bring now at my age is experience. So I know how to do things. So made lots of mistakes. So like I understand like the things that you need to do. I've had great learning under Lefroy, under some great master blenders, etc. So I've just got all of that experience now that I can bring to Lochlea, who hadn't even released a whiskey when I joined. So
was that an opportunity that arose when you thought, I'm going to leave Lefroy now? Was it something you were looking for, or was it something that just arose out of it?
Just arose. So did think this through. I guess if it wasn't for COVID, I would definitely still be at Lefroy, because it just gave me that chance to reflect and think like, what are you going to do in the second half of your kind of working life? So, and then then I realised like there's not much you're going to learn at Lefroy, and then like so to leave it for another big brand, I think would have been wrong as well, because I still love Lefroy. I'll always love Lefroy, but so it had to be something new, something different, and equally, I think it had to be non-peated.
Okay.
So yeah, just again for that extra stretch, and equally just that test. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So your audio is just slightly out with your voice. So I'm trying to let you like without interjecting. So I'm not sure 100% if I'm like kind of about to interrupt you. So it's fine, but I'm just like trying to leave it a little bit after you finish speaking, say before, but just speak away. So it's only slightly. So talking of Lochlea, and you're saying this is a unique challenge for anybody who has not heard of it or has not tried anything. Talk to us about the history, how it came about, where it is, what's the deal?
Yeah, so Lochlea is it's a farm distillery, and like the realest terms, so 100% of all of our grain is produced on the farm. It's stored on the farm, and we don't fully malt on the farm, although we have done floor malting trials, etc. We process it on site. We'll mature it all on site. We'll get it ready for bottling on site. We don't bottle, and then we'll bring it all back to the site and distribute. So everything's done. It's small production terms as well. So we will do roughly 180,000 litres of alcohol a year. It's independent, it's family owned, so it's one of only, I think, 3 distilleries in Ayrshire. But it's not that far. It's like a 35-minute drive from Glasgow. So, but it's just, I think it all came about for the family, the owners, just through they had been in farming, and they had done cattle farming, and then started growing cereal and realised it was going to distilleries. So they thought, well, we'll maybe have a wee trial ourselves. They did that in 2015 into 2016. It went well, and so decided to build their own distillery. And so that was completed in August. It started production in August 2018. So it's just over 5 years old now. What we've kind of done is we've started releasing whiskies. We've got a core expression called Out Barley, and then we do seasonal releases as well. And it's all kind of intertwined and interlinked with the farm, I guess. So we talk about farm a lot. We talk about kind of what we're doing there. We talk about just all of the processes we're doing kind of on site as well. And it's a really small team. So I think there's 13 of us.
Is the plan to have everything done on site eventually?
Yeah, no, we hope to move to single site. So we need to do three things. So we need to get the floor maltings in, we need to get a bottling line in, and we need to get a bioplant in to process our waste products. We do have reed beds just now for our spent lees, second distillation liquids, but we need to get the first distillation liquids processed as well, and then that'll be us. We'll be fully sustainable single site.
That's amazing stuff. It seems to be quite an important thing in the whiskey industry at the moment, so it's definitely kind of starting to revolutionize all of that kind of stuff. But also, I mean, with 100% barley coming from the farm, is that quite rare now in Scotch distilleries? Many others do that.
Yeah, no, and definitely, like, it's a scale thing as well. So like some of these, like the bigger brands, they just need a lot of land. So like to have a farm that size is just like kind of not practical. So again, like if you go back to Lefroy, they would need more land than Isla's size to produce the barley for them. So like that's not practical to grow all your barley on Isla for Lefroy, but like it is for us. And it's something we want to really kind of focus on as well, because like I think it resonates with our customers.
It does.
Equally, we're all heading towards a net zero journey, so that just gets us there really fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse me.
Whiskey. You need whiskey.
Yeah, no, I'm just waiting to go.
I'm just waiting to go. The house style of Lochlea, being a lowland whiskey, what separates it from others? What's the unique characteristic we should be looking for?
Yeah, so generally, in the past, although it's changing a lot now, lowland whiskey's image, there have been kind of grassy, cereally, and mainly blending whiskies. The two that would probably be there for a wee while now would be Auchentoshan and Glenkinchie. But there's quite a few distilleries opened up, moving along now. And Lochlea, I guess, for its point, it's fruit forward, I would say, is the first part. With like, when I started at Lochlea, I interviewed everyone just to see like what it was, because we're about to create this whiskey, and basically I asked them like what it would look like, what it would feel like if it was a person, how would it behave, all of this sort of stuff, to just try and hone all this in to get the parameters. So fruit was definitely something that we wanted. So like fruit forward. You need to taste the cereal as well. You should have a kind of malty note and slight grassy, but not too much compared to kind of other lowlands. So you will get that, and definitely coming through in the front end, in the back end. Sorry, the grassy and cereally, but it should be fruit, and we're really kind of trying to build like the depth of all of these flavors as we're kind of progressing through things.
Awesome. There's lots of tasting notes coming through at the moment already. I'll read a few out, and then we'll talk about the dram that we're drinking tonight, which is the Sowing edition, the second crop. Anthony Mullins is saying pineapple cubes on the nose. Steve Coleman-Williams, sense of fresh roasted coffee beans with a hint of sherbet lemons. Malcolm Tucker knows peach and orange blossom, then lemon cream puff biscuits you used to get in the 1980s.
No, they've started without us too. I'm jealous.
Yeah, they have. We're gonna get there.
Yeah, no, like you should. Apple is definitely a flavour pear you should get in Lochlea.
Yeah,
that's Sowing crop 2. You have got into season. It's
Yeah.
a seasonal release, so yeah, that's first fill bourbons. You might get vanilla notes coming through in that as well. I get like there's a honey element through crop 2 for me, and it's something we try to like with each crop release. We'll try and produce like a different style of bourbon whiskey as well. So the first one was quite high aromatics, high florals. This one's more kind of a wee bit weightier, a wee bit more viscous and kind of honeyed, but you should get all these. Yeah, you should get the apples first, and then some of these like lemon puff biscuits. So that was a very specific and really good tasting note. So
yeah, they're going Malcolm Tucker.
I'm really enjoying that one.
Specifically from the 1980s as well. We're not talking about lemon puff biscuits from now, but specifically.
I can remember them, so that's probably why it's resonating with me.
Absolutely, but I actually don't, to be honest with you. So I'm not just lots of notes come in about the apple and pears on the nose. Pat Callan's saying pear dropped in a paper bag, and has got a slightly damp from previously having apples in it, which is interesting. Just talk to us about the dram in itself, the expression, the maturation, what's going on here.
Yeah, so it's 100% first fill bourbon. It's I think the minimum age is kind of 4 years 2 months in this one, but we're kind of trying to get older whiskies in there all the time too. It's a limited release as well. Like we want the seasonals almost to come and go like the seasons as well. So there will be limited volume of it. Sowing is basically spring on the farm. It's when we'll plant the barley. We'll have gotten the fields ready through winter, and so in spring we sow the barley. So that's why it's called sowing. And it will be a first fill bourbon release. There will be 4 crops, and then we will maybe do a couple of maybe just different interesting things, and then we will release age statements coming forward. So that's the plan, just to show and kind of take people on a journey. It helps us understand as well the more popular flavors, I guess. So we do marriages like out a cask strength is 2, but these are more kind of individual ones as well with the seasons.
Is there a major difference as well, like between like spring and the summer releases? What?
Yeah, so summer will be port forward, and that's called harvest. Nice kind of clay or pink coloured box, and then we have autumn, which is fallow, which is a purple box, and it's the kind of the sherry bomb. And then in winter, which is ploughing, we release Lochlea matured in an ex-Isla cask, so it's got a slight peated element to it.
Okay, that's really interesting. Like I absolutely love that idea of being seasonal like that. I have to say, and it's really nice because now you just know. Okay, I'm going to go for a spring whiskey now in the height of spring or the height of summer. I'm going to go for that one. That's my summer whiskey, or that's my winter whiskey. Lots of notes coming in. Pat Cowling, pear dropped in a paper bag. Chris Turner, lots of apple and pears on the nose. Jason Cooper, certainly getting the pear drops. Steve Coleman Williams, hints of apricot too. Steve Coleman Williams loves the colour, certainly suits the smell. I love the colour, and actually, funnily enough, I would have used like throughout my whiskey drinking, I very much like very sherry driven and sherry forward whiskies. Yeah. And I have to say, recently my palate has completely changed, and I seem to not be heading for those ones. And this is the kind of thing. I mean, I absolutely love the pale straw colour of this. I'm going for very much bourbon inspired, especially first fill bourbon 100% like this. This is absolutely wonderful. That oily, grassy, creamy as well. That's definitely what my palate seems to be going more towards at the moment, which has been quite rare. And I absolutely love this. Jester saying fresh mown hay on the nose for me, getting the summer fruits as well. Steve Coleman Williams, this is a lovely whiskey. Malcolm Tucker palate, oak spices followed by heat of black pepper that lingers, ending on grassy parsley. Okay. Ali C, peach, apricot, vanilla, apples, cream, honey, slight hint of oats, flapjack, peach and orchard, fruit crumble for me, and Pat Cowling, really great on the palate, loving the spices. Yeah, it's absolutely a really interesting jam. What was interesting as well, you were saying that about releasing an age statement. Is that something that we can release? Are you waiting till 10 years old? Or are you going to be releasing something earlier than that?
Probably earlier, I would have thought. And just try different things again. Like, I think, as I said earlier, like a lot of the whiskies are known for their age statements. We've still to find out. So we're going through the process just now of picking the whiskies. We are starting to understand the ups and downs in maturation of the liquid as well, and that's the great thing. Over the last 2 years now, I'm really starting to understand the fluctuations in the liquid, and depending on what cask it's in as well. So we will do that. If we think it's ready at 8, we'll release an 8-year-old. But it doesn't mean to say we're going to have an 8-year-old forever, because if it gets better at 9, we'll release a 9-year-old and 10-year-old, whatever. It just, we've just got to do all that.
The core expression wouldn't have been decided yet. You just wait to release something, and then at some point, if the 10-year-old works the absolute best, that will be the core expression.
Yeah, or if it's a 12, it's a 12. It's just we probably will release an 8.
Do you have a favourite cask that you think the house spirit works best in?
You think you know, and then like we are doing quite a lot of experimenting. We're not kind of putting that out there yet, but like, wine casks seem to work really well. It would be my best understanding from probably this year. It just seems to, if we can get the marriage right. So we are. We've kind of used generic wines in the past, and now we're trying to really kind of hone in on vineyards and trying to get, I guess, companies or wineries that match our values as well, so that we can just mesh the two things together and really just elevate things, I guess, and get into more and more detail on being able to do that.
That sounds super, super exciting. And lastly, Anthony Mullin saying, again, some lovely punchy spices on taste, but just a hint of sweetness on the finish. It's been absolutely wonderful talking to you, John, about this wonderful dram. It's been really great. And I mean, I absolutely love it, I have to say. And I will be checking out all the other seasons of Lochlea. And remember, guys, if you want to buy this, you can buy it in the Pour and Sip store. I'm not 100% sure of what the Pour and Sip members price is, but you will be able to get it in the Pour and Sip store. So if you really like this one, and usually our guests end up buying all of them. So there you go. Thank you very much for talking to us, John. I'm aware that you've got a chest infection. I really do wish you better.
No, I'm okay. I'm fine.
You're okay. A little bit of whiskey is
whiskey.
Fine.
Just a good excuse to drink whiskey.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to stick around to the end. We'll be on the street. If you need to go anywhere, feel free to do that as well. But thank you again, John. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you. Cheers, and cheers everyone.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
It's good. I mean, I sort of vaguely knew the story, but I love hearing the story of like new distilleries and stuff. I think it's so cool. Absolutely. And like you, Andy, I love the idea of like a seasonal release.
Yeah, it's not something I've really seen like that specifically. So it's really cool and interesting. Not something I've seen on Pour and Sip either. And we've seen a lot here. So I love the couple. Anthony Mullin saying, this is a bit of a dangerous dram. Mine has already gone.
30 ml is very small and it's tasty.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Seacon with his fruity flapjack and cracked pepper spice on the palate, it goes down very easily. So there you go. Right, I am going to invite Mark. We're going away from Scotland and we're heading to Ireland.
Hello. So the antithesis, really, we've got the new distillery to what could be the world's oldest.
Yes.
Segue. It's like we planned this.
It is. It is the world's oldest, yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, well, I'll leave you in the capable hands of Jess, Mark. I look forward to drinking and listening to this chat. Cheers, guys.
Perfect. See you soon.
Andy. Hello.
Hello.
Ireland.
yeah. From Ireland. Yeah, from in the north of Ireland, yeah. So
amazing. So happy to have you on here, Mark. I think
delighted
before we
to be
get
here, so.
I know, so many new faces tonight. It's really nice. I mean, it's cool when you get
it's been great.
Yeah. I think before we get into the whiskey, it's always nice to learn a bit about you because,
yeah,
you know, we're here to chat. So yeah, I'd just love to hear your whiskey story, really.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I might seem biased, but I truly believe that I have the best job in whiskey and the best job in the world. I get to spend my days educating people and talking about some amazing liquids that we have coming out of Bushmills distillery. And it's, we have over 415 years of distilling heritage. We've been distilling single malt Irish whiskey since 1608. And I suppose our master distiller column has the line, we're not good because we're old because we're good.
Yeah, I love
and that kind of ties in really nicely with what we do. And yeah, I mean, the history and the heritage that we have is absolutely fantastic, but also the innovation that we have going on in the past couple of years has been nothing short of staggering. And to be a small part of that it's the highlight of a career, really.
How long have you been with Bushmills?
9 weeks. So it's been 9 weeks now. I've been in the industry for a very, very long time. And I've been with numerous other brands and things like that over the years, but certainly I have to say Bushmills is the highlight of my career. A brand that is so synonymous with Irish whiskey, and also so revered both globally and locally in Ireland as well. To be a part of that is amazing.
Oh, I love that. I bet you're begging I wasn't going to ask that question.
Yeah. I'm the newbie. Yeah.
Oh no, that's so great. Oh, we squeezed you in just in time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I was what you're saying about sort of tradition and innovation in Bushmills, I find so it's like a masterclass in how to balance the two, because I was lucky enough to go to the opening of the new distillery back in like March, I think it was.
Fantastic.
I was going to say I didn't see you there. So
yeah, I narrowly missed out on that one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, by like a month or two. But yeah, like I mean, for anybody here tonight who isn't familiar with Bushmills, one, which rock have you been hiding under? And two, so Bushmills is the oldest licensed distillery in the world, so dating back to 1608. And from 1608, we have been, it's fairly okay to say that we've been obsessed with the perfection of single malt Irish whiskies.
Seems fair.
We're the pioneers of single malt, really. We've 415 years and counting of distilling amazing single malt whiskies. And throughout that, we're very, very aware and we're very conscious of our environment and our locality. We've a solid workforce of about 140, I think it is, at the most recent count, the majority of which are locals. That they live almost a stone's throw away from the distillery. We ourselves are a stone's throw away from the Giant's Causeway, which is a national heritage site. We actually, every drop of water that we use in Bushmills has come from the River Bush, and more particularly a tributary called St. Colum's Rill, but it flows over the same basalt rock that the Giant's Causeway has.
Oh, so, I didn't know that.
Yeah, every single drop. So there's a certain minerality that we bring to every single liquid that we bring out that is unique. And I know that's something that everybody will say, that we're unique in that way, but literally we use is unique to our local area. We're so proud of Bushmills as being our local village, and being such a strong fabric to the community as well.
Yeah, I sorry. Speaking of that, I heard a wonderful story when I was there. that obviously it was a very big secret, like the new distillery being built, which we'll get onto. I know people might be thinking,
Oh
what
yes,
is that?
I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Do you want to tell it?
Yeah. So basically, we have what we affectionately know as OBD, which is Old Bushmills Distillery, which is the traditional distillery. But early this year, we opened the Causeway Distillery, which is a new £37 million development, which will more than double our capacity that we're able to put out. But also it's a state-of-the-art, stunning building. It will be housing some of our amazing innovative projects going forward as well. But the I suppose the fantastic thing about it was during the whole building process and it being within such close proximity to the village, not one photo was shared, nothing was mentioned about the whole process until we were ready for the reveal. But I think that goes to show, the link that we as the distillery have with the village as well. Like it sounds cliche, but there is that saying that there would be no Bushmills village without the whiskey, and there would be no whiskey without Bushmills village. So that's how closely we are intertwined, and it's something that the people of Bushmills are incredibly proud of to have at their doorstep. It's a badge of honor.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, and everyone that I met was just absolutely lovely. Like, I mean, obviously, why wouldn't they be? But it was it was my first time visiting any Irish distillery, so it was really, really cool to
well, you're welcome back at Bushmills anytime. So
thank you. It was freakishly good weather when I went. It was like March, and everyone got sunburned. It was really funny.
Yeah, so you got one of our 3 days of sun.
Yeah, this is what everyone said. Everyone was like, "What have you done?"
Congrats.
And like, where is the weather?
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you. I'll come back and bring some with me. So yeah, today obviously your portfolio is huge, but we are, everyone will be sipping the 16-year-old today, which I don't know if you have a jam, but I've got mine in.
Yes, I do, and I am delighted that we're talking about the 16-year-old this year.
Please tell me
session. Okay, so I have my lovely sort of presentation,
so good,
which you'll get on Master Malt.
Pour and sip, but yes,
pour and sip. So Bushmill 16 is just an incredible liquid, start to finish. It's 9 times out of 10 it comes out on top in terms of tastings, or anytime. My job encompasses a lot of trainings with on and off trade and a lot of consumer facing events. So anytime that we showcase Bushmill 16, it really does sing and shine, and it comes out on top. And it's kind of easy to see why. So I suppose when we look at the liquid itself, I mean the color, first of all, that sort of dark mahogany almost, is absolutely amazing. In terms of our core malt portfolio, this is the first dalliance into a triple cask. So what we do with this whiskey particularly, we mature for at least 16 years. So 16 years in bourbon and sherry casks, and then it can be anywhere between 9 and 12 months then in port pipes afterwards. So the conventional whiskey drinker or whiskey distiller or whoever it might be will tell you that that 9 to 12 month period is quite long to be interacting with port pipes. But the team that we have in Bushmills, and particularly our master distiller Colin Egan and our master blender Alex Thomas, they're very, very patient. They're very, very patient people. Much more patient than I am. I could never be a distiller, blender, golfer, or fisherman. I just don't have the patience for it. But not a drop of liquid will leave Bushmills Distillery until it's deemed absolutely perfect, or deemed to be as it was kind of pictured in its inception. So we don't mind leaving it in for an extra couple of months in those sorts of port pipes. But that lovely sort of mahogany color that you get, that comes from the direct interaction with the wood. The nose as well. This is a lovely liquid in the fact that the nose almost mimics the palate as well, which is something you don't normally get. But I mean, key characteristics with this, you have that sort of raisiny element, lovely elements of spice, cinnamon, clove, stone fruits, sort of plum, apricot, and as well, what we have, and this sort of transcends within our Bushmills DNA as well with our single malts, is that you have this lovely, almost subtle milk chocolate undertone that comes
it's really
along
creamy for me. Yeah.
right at the very end. Well, interestingly, there is a viscous element to the 16-year-old, which maybe more so than the likes of our 10-year-old. You'll start to gravitate through in terms of the textural element that you'll get on the palate, but the 16-year-old has these lovely sort of oils, naturally sort of occurring oils that just essentially lock in that flavor on the palate as well. So everything that you're getting on the nose gets locked in on the palate as well. So
continuity, we love it.
We're
getting some really, really great taste notes in here. Actually, we've I mean, as a side note, this is the first time Jason Copper has ever tried Bushmills, and he's very impressed. So
fantastic. Welcome, Jason.
I'm glad he's finally tried it.
Yeah.
Malcolm Tucker's getting woodland honey, an old leather satchel hint fruit. Steve Cohen Williams, this is evocative. I love it. Rich salt cured fruit, treacle, and an odd hint of blackberry petit filou. That's so good. That's bang on. It's like that's fruit and the creaminess.
100%. That's a fantastic one. So for me, and this is why I'm so glad that we're tasting the 16-year-old tonight, because there's such an eclectic mix of different flavor profiles that you have going on there. We gravitate from the raisiny, plum, apricot to those mellow spices of like cinnamon and clove, but you do get that hint of blackberry, morello, cherry, and finishing with this lovely sort of jammed fruits. Someone has said to me before about strawberry jam, and it's hard to argue against it as well, because you do get that lovely sort of honeyed sweetness towards the end, but that it's a hedgerow type fruit as well. So for me, what I always say to people is this is affordable luxury. That this is, I mean, whiskey is not just for Christmas, it's for all year round. But certainly those days where the rain is beating against your window and it's cold outside, it's wintry, you have the fire lit or the wood burner lit, this is a whiskey to have beside that, for sure.
Yeah, it feels almost like decadent, feels like too strong of a word, but it's really all encompassing in its flavor. Like it's really rich.
There's something very comforting about Bushmills 16. It's kind of like the whiskey equivalent of a warm hug. It kind of warms you from within.
I think most people would sort of think of like a sherry bomb to be more like a winter warmer, and obviously this has sherry in it, but it's also got the other
for sure. I mean, the Bushmills DNA really is it comes from our new make spirit. So our new make spirit.
How would you describe that?
So our new make spirit is triple distilled, and for a reason. That what we get before we put it into a cask is a very sort of fruit forward, very orchard fruit type spirit. And then obviously our cask sort of dictates what flavor profile we get from there. But the Bushmills DNA is very much based upon a maturation process of bourbon and also sherry. That is really that tried and tested method. That's the approach we take for all of our malts, and then we finish in a third cask for the most part. But the Bushmills DNA is quite fruity. It's wood forward as well.
Where does that fruitiness come from? Is it sort of like, is it the fermentation or is it the cut points?
It really gets ramped up in the third distillation.
Okay.
You know, it I suppose it comes from we're pioneers of single malt, so we live and breathe day on day malted barley, and we've enough years at working with malted barley and to know kind of what works for us. But the third distillation seems to be where the flavor profiles are really, really locked in, and you do get that really ripe sort of orchard fruit. So something that people would always say about Bushmills is that there's a characteristic of like pear, green apple, always comes through within the new make, and that will always transfer then through to the final aged spirit too. So it's then the additives that the cask has influence on afterwards, you know.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd be intrigued. So is there any expression, that you can try without it being finished? So it's just sort of the bread and butter of the Oloroso and the bourbon maturation.
Yes, there will be.
There will be.
There will be. Listen, I'm coming into Bushmills at arguably the most exciting time in the past sort of 10, 15 years.
Maybe you are more patient than you thought, you know.
Sorry?
Maybe you're more patient than you thought. You've waited until, you know, the creme de la creme.
Yeah, well, I suppose, you know, when you're coming to work with a brand as synonymous in the Irish whiskey industry and the global whiskey industry as Bushmills, you have to know your stuff, and you have to be comfortable in learning the history and the heritage, but also being open to the innovation piece as well, which is something that we have been doing for the past few years. So, and that's only going to ramp up. So, like some things I suppose that people might not know about Bushmills. Like I said, we are the oldest licensed whiskey distillery in the world, but we're also one of the biggest in terms of the scale. So currently we have just over 460,000 casks resting in Bushmills. We have 80 different cask types. So the average distillery is probably working between 8 and 12 different cask types.
Really?
Wow. Outside of the massive global entities.
Yeah. What do those cask types look like, sort of outside of, you know, the ones you know of? Can you say?
I mean that would be giving away the secrets. So we obviously we work with bourbon and sherry, and we work with Madeira and port. We have our Causeway collection, which works with different casks and a cask strength as well. So some of those are arguably the most difficult casks to source globally. Yeah. But due to Bushmills' reputation and the relationship that we have with those different cooperages or different wineries or whoever it may be, we're one of the only sort of distilleries in the world that will be able to get their hands on those casks.
Yeah.
The additional ones, no, I can't talk about. You might see them at some stage, you might not. And I suppose that's the thing with Bushmills and the patience element is, you know, we have liquid resting and experimenting there that might never see the light of day if it's not deemed perfect or deemed where it should have been when it was in its inception. So that's the patience of the whiskey industry. Yeah. But
for every successful release, you'll have a couple of failed experiments.
Well, I think nothing's ever failed. So what we would tend to do is, you know, we have our experimental cask releases that we do through the Causeway collection. But then if something isn't exactly where we deem it to be, then we can always recask it. We can always, you know, try different things. marry different casks together and see how that ends up. But
Never waste a good whiskey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly not.
but the level of innovation and where we're aiming to get to in the next couple of years is, I believe, unparalleled. You might say.
Is that connected to not biased at all, but, is that sort of connected to the new distillery at all, or is that just giving you the capacity to like experiment with more because you've got more volume?
I suppose yes, it is. It is linked to the new distillery to a degree, but you know, I think our oldest Causeway expression, which was released last year, which was an Ireland edition, was 25 years old. So, you know, this has been a project that's been in the works for a long time. And, you know, fans of Bushmills were always kind of longing for that cask strength expression. And I think they were absolutely bowled away by what we give them, you know, because we kind of outdid ourselves. It wasn't just a cask strength expression. It was a cask strength expression also with super experimental, very, very rare casks that I think nobody else in the globe really could get their hands on. So it's been a very, very special process to be involved in.
Yeah, I mean, I bet you're just sort of inundated with information. Like, there's so much going on. I don't know how you remember it all. Even more to come. We've got more notes through as well. We do actually do a little vote at the end with all of our subscribers. So we'll see if Bushmills comes out on top again. But many a good word about the 16-year-old. We've got Anthony Mullen saying he didn't expect it to be that smooth, getting really dark toffee that like sticks to your mouth, and dark chocolate finish. Richard Wingrove, really finished, lots of berries, which is quite surprising after the oakiness. That's interesting. And Steve Cooper, tasting notes have gone out the window, but he loves it. And Jester is offering to take the casks which don't pass the quality.
I'm sure he is. There's plenty of others. But yeah, I mean, sort of getting back to the 16-year-old, the 16-year-old is such a special liquid because, like I said, my job is to travel Ireland and sometimes beyond, tasting these liquids, educating people on these liquids, and really just spreading the good word of Bushmills, really. But the 16-year-old has this magical ability almost where it converts people who deem themselves non-whiskey drinkers to being whiskey drinkers. So you would almost automatically assume that would happen with like a blend, you know, or a very, very unaged whiskey. Bushmills 16, I have been in events previously and I've been in tastings previously where someone has come along with their partner, you know, and it's been a present for them and said, I don't really drink whiskey. I'm going to have a gin and tonic or something while I'm doing this. And actually when they try the 16, they go, that's amazing. That's beautiful. You know, I really like this. And you go, okay, well, you know, we've converted you. You're a Bushmills fan. You're a whiskey fan. So that sort of stuff is great.
I love that.
Terms
of sorry, I feel like I've gone over time already. I feel like I could talk to you about this all day.
No worries.
I know. Well, we'll. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off there.
No worries at all. No worries.
Yes, hi Andy. We'll have a little.
That's when you know you've been cut off. When I just appear back on the screen, then you know you've been cut off. That was a wonderful listen.
We will return.
We will return.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me so far, anyway.
You're welcome. We'll see you at the end, Mark.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. 2 down.
Yeah. We're taking a tour of the UK today. Off to England.
We are. We're going to England now. We sure are. Right. Okay. So I'm going to say bye-bye to Jess again. Musical screens. And we are going to say hi to Dave.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Yeah, very good. I too have a bit of a cold, so I'll be working through it.
So do I.
Okay.
I have to say, I've got one as well. Obviously, You know, I don't go on about it like you guys are going on about it, and you know, but no, I do have a little bit of a cold as well. But yeah, we'll battle through with whiskey, right?
Definitely.
Whereabouts are we speaking to you from, Dave?
So I live in Belper, which is just down the road from the distillery. So in Ambergate in Derbyshire, that's where the distillery is.
Okay. And how's the weather for you guys at the moment?
It's just beginning to turn. The
As
still
cold
house
as John has got
gets
1
cold.
degree.
Not quite as cold as John, to be fair. Enough that we can moan about it anyway.
Yeah. Right. Well, talk to us a little bit about yourself and you know, how you found yourself in your current role at the distillery.
So yeah, so I'm the distillery manager at White Peak Distillery, which is an amazing job. I got into it. I came into distilling through craft brewing. So I used to make beer, which, if you're familiar with how you make whiskey, there's a lot of parallels, especially at the start. You basically just have to make a terrible beer, and that's something I've become quite good at. So that was my route into it, and I'd been a craft brewer at a relatively small scale for probably about 7 years, and I've always liked whiskey, and just got to a point. My partner and I thought, well, maybe we should think about moving up to Scotland and pursuing that. But sort of just as we were thinking that, Max and Claire Vaughan set up a distillery just up the road from my house. So I was a bit, I thought I better at least say hello. And I sent Max a message on Facebook saying who I was and what I was interested in, and we just kind of took it from there.
Wow, so that's stars really aligned there.
Yeah, so I joined the distillery in February 2018. They'd already started building it, and I arrived just as we're finishing off the installation of the whiskey kit and all the commissioning of the plant and stuff like that. So we first mashed whiskey in May 2018, and our first release was February 2022.
There you go. So right over the COVID period as well, that was all going on.
Yeah, we, it was a bit challenging because we, obviously tours are a big part of the business early on, just, helping to spread the message out and things like that. So we were kind of hampered with not being able to get people around the distillery, but we've got a really big space at the Y Works where we're based, so we could all socially distance, so we could keep on working, and we were producing hand sanitizer, which a lot of distilleries are doing as well. So, it's not been without its challenges. We've had flooding and all sorts of stuff as well. So, but we're still going.
Well, talk to us about the location. We're talking English whiskey here, and we're talking the very well-known place of Derbyshire. Talk to us about this unique location and why it was set up here.
So, my boss Max and his wife Claire, they had this dream of setting up a whiskey distillery. So Max grew up in Derbyshire, as did Claire. Max actually used to ride his mountain bike in Shining Cliff Woods, which backs onto the Y Works, the Johnson and Nephew Y Works. So he already knew the site was there. He does come from an engineering and then finance background, and he lived in London. But I think it got to a point where it was sort of, I want to do this. It's now or never. Well, why not now anyway? He didn't want to make a Scottish whiskey distillery in England, so he didn't go to Scotland. He went over to the US and spoke to a guy called Chip Tate, who'd set up his own distillery over there.
It's a great American name, isn't it? Chip.
Yeah, it is.
Great American.
And he got some good advice. He came back, and as I say, he knew the Y Works was there, so he got in touch with the landlord. Showed him around the site, and as soon as he saw the site, he thought this has got to be the place. So that's why we're where we're at. And there's a nice heritage there. There's this history of making things the proper way, which we hopefully we're carrying on.
Yeah, well, talk to us about that and the production processes you're using at the Y Works to produce this whiskey.
So a couple of things we like with our whiskey. Well, we like all of it, I should say that.
Only two things. The rest of it's
yeah.
Great.
We definitely make decisions. I mean, our goal is to it's along the same lines of John at Lochlea. You know, we're trying to make a whiskey that perhaps doesn't require 12, 15 years in a barrel before it tastes good and before it's ready. So we make decisions early on which kind of encourage a really smooth new make spirit that doesn't require that time. So things like choice of yeast. So we actually use local brewers' yeast from a brewery up the road in Bakewell called Thornbridge. So they're quite a big brewery these days. So you might be familiar with them up and down the country, but they make a really nice IPA. And we use the yeast which they've used to make that IPA, and we add that to our fermentations. And that in itself gives us a little bit of extra flavour we quite like. In terms of the fermentations themselves, so we actually do quite long fermentations. So we haven't always done 6 days, but we're on 6-day fermentations now, and just giving it that extra time after the yeast has begun to die off. Encourages lots of fruity esters to form, and it just, again, that lends itself to a nice fruity sweet new make spirit. And then choice of cut points. So our sort of standard release that we run, I mean, getting a little bit technical, but
that's right, do it.
Yeah, the second run on the still is just to sum up, is split into 3 parts: 4 shots, the hearts and the feints. For our standard release, we run, and the vast majority of all our whiskey is 15 minutes of 4 shots, and we run the spirit all the way down to 67%. That's actually quite high up in the run. So that encourages a more sort of light fruit forward profile in our spirit, which we quite like. Yeah. That's in contrast to the whiskey we're going to try tonight.
That's like kind of taking a tangent on the kind of core DNA of your usual style.
Yeah, so we are quite experimental, so we do like to try playing around with things and just to see how they go. You know, we don't just we do plan these things out. So this particular release, we lengthened the 4 shots duration, so half an hour instead of 15 minutes. And then we actually ran the spirit down to 64%. So widened that run quite a bit.
And what's the kind of outcome of what you should expect from doing that? And what difference does that should make to the whiskey theoretically before even trying it afterwards?
So a lot of the lighter like orchard fruits and appley notes, they come out a bit earlier on in the run. So by extending the 4 shots by 15 minutes, so half an hour 4 shots, we think we've cut a lot of that out, which has encouraged a bit more of the tropical fruit sort of flavor to come through. So on the nose, you might get things like fruit salad sweets and stuff like that. And also by running the spirit run a bit deeper down to about 64%, you generally get a bit more of the malt characteristics coming through. You get a bit more of the oils through, so it's a bit creamier. So it's a bit creamy, a bit of the malt profile. And all of our whiskey is slightly peated. So we do use peat. It is a peated whiskey. And by running the spirit a bit deeper, we capture more of that peat. So it makes better use of the peat that's in there as well.
It's wonderfully subtle, the peat.
It is very, very background peat. Yeah. It just adds that bit of complexity.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super nice on the nose because I'm getting this like kind of the real prominent thing for me is like kind of ginger biscuit kind of vibe is what I would say.
On the nose, we've got things like fresh ginger written down, vanilla pastry, caramel, you know, those thicker, creamier sort of things coming through.
Sure. And there's just this wonderful little subtle note of kind of heathery peat in there, which is absolutely wonderful. I've not tried it on the palate yet, so it might be less subtle on the palate, I'm not sure. Just a few notes coming through. Jeff's saying he's visited the distillery last month. Great little place, tour, and some interesting artworks surrounding the distillery.
So we've got, we're based in the old maintenance sheds of the Wye Works, but it is an absolutely giant site. So there's a museum opposite, and then on the other side to us, some artists have taken a unit on, and they're restoring those buildings and using it as an exhibition space. So that's what that's about. But you know, the Wye Works themselves, we're blessed with space, which is really nice. So we only occupy about 10% of the whole site at the moment, but all of our casks are matured on site, which enables us to, you know, sort of look after them and move them around. So we've got currently got 3 dunnage style warehouses, and one's upstairs, one's downstairs, and one's in a different part of the building. So what we've found is there's a good degree of temperature change throughout. So we can play around with those temperatures during seasonally, and give some barrels that might need a bit of a kick. We can put them upstairs for the summer, for example, and we find we get a more aggressive maturation, or quicker maturation. I don't want to say quicker because you can't speed things up, but we get a more intense maturation if we put things upstairs, and this is all stuff we're learning as we go, which is quite nice.
Sure, that sounds awesome. And Jeff's is also saying the bottles are lovely as well, based on the history of the Wireworks.
So it's got this really nice. I've got one.
Have you got one?
Hold on.
Here's one I prepared earlier. I should put some incidental music on or something.
So this isn't the alter ego release, but it's a different one. But yeah, that's the actual
Lovely
whiskey
bottle.
bottle. It's got this nice twisted wire theme going through it. Look nice on anybody's mantelpiece as a gift.
Yeah, there you go. And based on the history of the Wireworks, according to Jeffster. Malcolm Tucker asking, do you age any of the whiskey in the barrels used for Never Say Die bourbon we held back in July?
Yes, we do. So we've got it's not in any of this whiskey. So just briefly on this whiskey, our normal sort of, all of our whiskeys so far have been leaning towards STR wine barrels, which have gone through a bit of a refurbishment. So they're quite active casks, vatted with a little bit of bourbon barrels. This one, we've kind of skewed it the other way. So roughly 65% of the barrels used in this release are first fill bourbon, and that they obviously require a bit of a longer maturation anyway. So there's a bit more of the character of our new mate coming through as there. So that's just another part of that whiskey. But yeah, on the Never Say Die thing, we do have a relationship with a bourbon brand in the States. What they basically send their bourbon over to us, where it undergoes a further maturation in our warehouse. We look after bottling and labeling for them, and then that's it for as far as that. They're there, and it's their bourbon. They sell it. But the thing we get out of that relationship is we get very fresh casks. So as soon as we've emptied those bourbon barrels for them, they're effectively ours, and we can fill them straight away. So they're the freshest bourbon barrels you'll ever get, basically. Okay. So it's a really nice thing for us.
Okay, it's amazing that Malcolm Tucker had just specified that particular bourbon. So it was a very educated guess, or just someone in the know?
Yeah, I guess word gets around.
Yeah, word gets around. See, Carmen Williams, smells of fresh burnt pano raisin, custard Danish, if there's such a thing as a breakfast whiskey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there you go. Anthony Mullins is getting peat on the nose, but custard tart coming through. Malcolm Tucker knows coffee revels. Now, funnily enough, coffee revels are my absolute favourite of the revels, and usually people kind of discard the coffee revel, but I always think they're the best ones. Anyway, lemon curd, subtle peat, and Ali C. Since we've got 2 custard tarts in the running already, I'll chuck a third. Pastel del Nata, eaten hot next to a peat fire. That's
very good.
Yeah, I mean, that is specific moment you're going for there. I love a Pastel del Nata by the peat fire. Lovely. Sounds very nice. But what about you, Dave? What should we get? What are you getting on the palate for this one?
So, I mean, what we've got, palate. We think there's some cream soda, there's some honey, some light caramel, malted milk biscuits. That's quite a good one, we think, and some gingerbread as well as some tropical fruits and maybe a bit of mango. Finish, we've got Caramac bars actually as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this like the peat is definitely more prominent on the palate than it is on the nose. It's not blow your mind, Pete, but it's definitely there on the palate, and it's lingering there. It's like a whisper of smoke that's lingering. Definitely with you on the mango note and Auric golden syrup as well. Yeah, I'm absolutely loving this. What would you say about adding water to this? Because we are bottling this at 51.5%.
I mean, it's it's not something I've added. Well, you can add water to it. If you add water to it, you'll generally get a bit more of the smoky notes coming out of it, which it is quite pleasant. So, and it will take a bit of water at 51.5. I normally drink it. I drink most of this when I'm giving a tour at the distillery, and I put it next to one of our other releases. And yeah, I never give it with any water, just because at 51.5, because of those cut points, it's quite creamy. So it is just very palatable as it is. So I've never felt the need, but you do generally get a bit more smoky notes to it. So
there's a real heat from it as well.
Yeah.
At the end, like a chili kick. But I mean, I really like I said, it really is viscous on the palate. It's wonderful legs on this, oily, creamy. But yeah, towards the end there, when it back ends of the palate, is a wonderful punch that I absolutely love. Of a black pepper heat there. Malcolm Tucker says the guest in July from Never Say Die Bourbon stated they had an arrangement with Wireworks. That's why I asked if the barrel was used in this whiskey. There you go. See, I would have forgotten this. I did forget.
Yeah, so it's not used in this particular one because that relationship's fairly new. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah, we've got some full maturation. I mean, they're just very fresh bourbon barrels. So we are going to sort of treat them independently and see what kind of flavors we get. And I think we've got some rye whiskey casks as well from Never Say Die. So we'll look at those and see what they do. So
that's cool. Because I mean, obviously, like, you know, English whiskey, you know, in comparison to the kind of regulations on Scottish whiskey, there's a bit more chance for a little bit more cask experimentation. Is that something you guys are keen on and you're planning for the future?
Yeah, so we are sort of slowly experimenting more and more with different types of cask. We've recently filled a Staffordshire oak quarter cask.
Wow, okay. That's really interesting.
I'm not really sure I'm supposed to tell you that, actually.
Yeah, we love an NDA on Pour and Sip.
It is.
We've had so many accidental NDAs on this on Pour and Sip. It's amazing. But don't forget, our guests never forget anything like this.
It's all written down now. Yeah. So that, you know, that's interesting. That's something we're going to have a look at and see. We've started to fill, you know, we've got some more wine finishes coming through. So we've got some Amarone and things like that. Port, something we've not really filled much sherry so far, just because we were trying to go down a different route and see what else we could do. But we have filled some port. I was feeling quite sorry for myself today at work with this cold, but then in the afternoon we had to narrow down 12 port casks to 6 for a release. So I felt pretty good after that.
It's a hard life, eh?
Yeah, it's a good job.
It's a good job. So in the future, what's the future hold? Are we looking towards an age statement at some point, or?
Well, I guess we're on that journey. I mean, I'm not sure we'll ever put a number on a bottle, just because, you know, our whole sort of ethos is we do it a way that, you know, you don't need an age statement on a bottle, and even a lot of the bigger giant whiskey distilleries these days are releasing non-age statement stuff.
No, totally.
But yeah, so, you know, we released about 20,000 bottles of whiskey last year, but in that time put about 200,000 bottles worth of whiskey away. So we've got enough to keep back. We'll always do the experiment. If a 7-year whiskey is the best it's going to be, then we will release it. We probably won't put a number on it, but we'll always do that experiment and let it get older and older just to see. I think we worked out the other day, if we stopped all whiskey production, we've got enough whiskey to last 25 years for sales. So there's plenty of time. We've got plenty of stock to play around with. Yeah.
Yes, and if there's a zombie apocalypse as well, you guys are going to be okay with all that.
That's the place to go. Yeah,
that's the place to go. A couple more names. There's C. Colin Williams saying, "Wow, could it be any more fruity on the palate?" I've just read that, just like Chandler from Friends, just the way it's written, I just see, could it be any more? Just it makes me instantly go to Chandler from Friends. Steve Colin Williams as well, saying spicy heat from the smoke and an explosion of fruitiness. Actually think this would go really well with breakfast pastries. Is that something you consider, Dave?
Well, we've got vanilla pastries on the nose, so
there you go.
There you go. We can try that.
There you go. Is there anything particular you pair this with? We love, because we've always spoken about food pairings on Pour and Sip. So,
Oh, I don't know actually.
There you
What
go.
would I do that with? I'll try and think of something.
Something to think about. Something. Well, breakfast pastries, but we don't encourage drinking at breakfast. But anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, Dave. Thank you so much for sharing all about why works with us. And if you stick around to the end, we've just got 2 more quick drams, and we'll have a brief chat at the end with all of us back on screen. As I can see, Mark and John are still there as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right. Okay. There we go. We're our wonderful guests. That portion of the evening is done.
UK whiskey tour complete.
Yes. You're right there. Are you coming down with something as well?
I'm getting the cough.
It's coming through the screen. I didn't realise you could catch it on the screen. Yeah. Okay. So, Loch Lomond?
Yes. I'll have a quick. So obviously, 5 drams one evening is quite a lot. So we're just going to run through the last 2 drams and sort of give you a bit of a layout of what they're about. And you can enjoy them in your own time if you want to. Well, you'll definitely want to, but
at some point, you're most of the time not drinking any of this whiskey.
Yes. So the Loch Lomond it looks initially like a confusing one because it is called a single grain, but it's actually made with malted barley. And obviously, usually you'd think that'd be called a single malt. But in this case, Loch Lomond has one of the most unique still setups in probably the world. It has so many different types of stills, so it can produce. Loch Lomond gets bottled underneath a lot of different names. And so the reason this one is called a single grain and not a single malt is because it's distilled in a coffee still. That's Coffey, not your morning brew. He was actually an Irishman. And it's usually used to produce grain whiskies, and legally single malt, sorry, I'm tripping over my words, single malt has to be produced in a pot still. So because this is produced in a coffee still, it is a single grain. So it's like a bit of a tongue twister to describe. Don't know if you can tell. But yeah, so it's quite light, it's quite floral, it's fruity, it's fairly sweet because it's matured in first fill and refill American oak, and it's sure to be an absolute treat of a scotch and quite interesting to try. I don't think many people would have tried sort of malted barley distilled in a coffee still before, if ever.
No, absolutely. I've not tried much from Loch Lomond, except we did a Pour and Sip New Year's Eve.
Yes, we did.
We had the Loch Lomond. Can't remember what it was, but I did introduce it. And
a while ago.
The first.
Good memory there, actually, Andy.
Pardon?
Good memory there.
Yeah, I remember what I do, just not what other people do. I just, but yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for that, Jess. And we're also talking about what I particularly remember Tamdhu from Pour and Sip because that was my favourite from Christmas last year.
Oh, wow.
I had a bottle of that. There.
Well, with your sherry love.
Correct, but it's changing. Like I was saying to John, it really is changing. Like I've gone off it, but now I keep reaching for really bourbon-inspired whiskey. So I'm about to introduce you to a sherry bomb. So it's no good for me because I can't stand that stuff anymore. No, it's definitely not true. I love it still. It's just not what I'm reaching for as much. But anyway, Tamdhu is the only Scotch distillery that only matures its whiskey in Oloroso casks, in sherry casks, in Oloroso casks. So it's 100% sherry policy, which came in after they kind of mothballed for a period, but after 2010 when Ian McLeod distillers took over. Usually most of Tamdhu is used for blended whiskies like Cutty Sark, but since the takeover, they're now releasing a lot more single malts, and this 12-year-old is part of the core range. And I mean, I've tried this numerous times before, and as you would expect, it is a big sherry number, loads and loads of dried fruit, dark chocolate, fruitcake, baking spices, apples, proper sherry bomb for those that love a huge sherry-driven whiskey, which I usually do.
We'll see. Maybe when the weather changes.
Yeah,
your old self.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. Like I keep on looking at all my wonderfully heavy sherry spring banks up there, and they're just not shouting to me in the same way. I'm like looking like an Aaron 10 as being like something I really, really enjoy now. But anyway,
thoughts and prayers with you.
Pardon?
Thoughts and prayers with you.
Anyway, that's a little whistle-stop tour of those 2 drams. Again, 5 is a lot to drink in one night, so please enjoy those at your leisure. If you wish to watch this back again, do it then if you like, or drink it now. I don't care. Do it. I'm going to invite our guests back on, as they're all still here. Mark, still there. Get the gang back together.
Yep.
Dave, it's been a while,
Still there.
honestly. And John as well. It has been a while with you, John.
Yes.
Honestly, it's been a while. But welcome back, guys. So what I usually like to ask our guests as well, because you guys are so used to talking about your own whiskies and stuff, but it's also cool to see things that you're enjoying at the moment and stuff you've tried that's not your own whiskey that's really taken you by surprise. You go, I love that, and that's something new. What about you, Mark? As you're at the top of my screen.
So something I'm really looking forward to seeing is Mickle, which is a spirit coming out of Galway. And they've just like kind of flown under the radar a wee bit. But they had previously Pochine, and now sort of going to the whiskey.
I just tried that for the first time in Ireland, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'd never tried it before.
Yeah, something cool.
It's good stuff.
Something cool. Looking forward to really getting into tasting, So
okay, awesome. What about you, Dave?
The last whiskey I bought was it was very recently. It was a Thompson Brothers release of a Dalhousie, and it was 8-year-old Dalhousie, and that's really tasty, nice and waxy, and lots of oily spirit there. Really enjoying it. It's good.
I love the waxy whiskey, and I love Dalhousie. And again, on our Pour and Sip New Year's Eve tasting, Jess, I also introduced Dalhousie, the only one of it they released as a single malt. I can't remember what it was.
It was this little archive.
It was from the Flora and Fauna, the special releases.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah. And what about you, John?
Like I was down at the whiskey show a couple of weekends ago as well, and I tried a couple of Chichibu London, and also Indri did a new, so it's an Indian single malt. It's relatively new, but I know Surrender, the blender distiller, really well, and he has introduced some peated elements into Indri as well, which that was really interesting. So
yeah, that sounds awesome. I have to say, the Chichibu, I've not been lucky enough to try many of those, but
yeah, I just know that's the good thing again about being in the industry so long. I know like Tetsuya, who is the brand ambassador for Chichibu, really well. So I've known him for so long. So.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good stuff. With you guys all here, we have to ask a very, very nasty question. We understand that whiskey is definitely subjective, and there are no wrong or right answers, because let's be honest, it's all good stuff, and everything we've tried has been good. But Jess, do you want to ask that question?
Yes. I mean, do you know what? People are already volunteering the answer to this question. Like, people know what's coming. But for anyone who doesn't know or hasn't wanted to choose one yet, what was your number from tonight? We want to hear. We don't want. They're all really good. I say this every time.
Yeah. Don't sit on the fence.
Don't ask me.
Nobody's going to be offended here, but please just let us know what your favourites have been. Like you said, Jeff, they're already commenting now.
Yeah.
They're way ahead of us. Steve Williams, this month has been really strong. Best for a while. I'm struggling to pick between one of the three. See, that's
Steve, can you try?
Yeah, try. Pat Cowling out of the top three. I love the Bushmills, but my favourite of the night is the Tamdhu.
Ooh, careful.
Neil Bolton, all really good tonight. Why works must taste for me. Chris Turner, not had the extra two, but the Bushmills is winning with the nod to the Lochlea 2. Just got a bottle of Indri, recommended, says Jeffster. And Richard Wingrove, Bushmills, for me, out of the three tonight. Like we said, whiskey is definitely a subjective thing. There are no right or wrong answers to this. So please, none of our guests are going to be offended. Are you?
Very much so.
There you go. Already offended.
No, hopefully everybody enjoyed Bushmill 16, but also what amazing whiskies we had there as well.
Absolutely.
To showcase. So
have you?
Yeah,
I'm sure we've all tried Bushmills before, not necessarily the 16. But Dave, have you tried something from Lochlea? John, have you tried anything from White Peak?
I have tried a Lochlea, and it was very tasty. I can't remember which one it was though.
Yeah, no, try both. On a story back in the day when I was a lobster fisherman, we used to go over and we would stay in Ireland every second night, and we used to basically swap lobsters for bottles of Blackbush, so we could get a wee dram in the evening. So yeah, I've had both these whiskies at different times in my life.
That's a good swap.
I love that you were a lobster fisherman. That just sounds like
What a great start to like any segue. Like,
Yeah,
I was just
yeah,
thinking
that's a good swap.
fisherman.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. And some more coming through. Steve Conway, I think maybe non-committally, the Bushmills it was new to me and did take me back to being a teenager. Genuinely me a fraction of hair. Okay. Joe P, that's not me. That was a typo.
I think he means by a fraction of a hair, Bushmills.
By a fraction of a hair, yeah, sorry. I'm reading that out badly. Joe P, luckily it's payday. Just bought a bottle of the Wireworks. And Ali C, Lochlea and Bushmills, then Loch Lomond. But Wireworks is a really unexpected surprise. So we'll be having a look more in depth at their stuff. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us. It's been wonderful to talk to all our wonderful guests that we've had, Mark, Dave, and John. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, as always, Jess. When's the next one?
It is on the 9th of November. I'm prepared this time.
You won't be there because you're going to be watching the brand new Heavies.
I am. I'm going to see the brand new Heavies with my dad. It was booked ages ago, so I'm unfortunately not going to be here. But I mean, you know, Andy, you're the face now.
Okay.
Over 3 years, what would we do without you?
3 years, yeah. All right then. But thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to all our new subscribers. Please remember you can get any of these bottles that you've seen tonight on the Pour and Sip store at a member's discount. And we will see you on Thursday, November the 9th. Thank you, everybody. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.